Hi, good day. My name is Ricardo Wyngaard, and today I'm going to talk to you about tax exemption for non-profit organizations in South Africa. Now, there are different kinds of tax exempt organizations, but we're going to talk about a particular kind of organization called the public benefit organization. Most non-profits would qualify for public benefit organization status. So that's why we're focusing on that particular kind of organization. Now, the Income Tax Act gives primarily two kinds of benefits for public benefit organizations. The one is tax exemption. And tax exemption basically means that the organization does not pay tax on its taxable income. Now, it's actually partial tax exemption, because in some situations a public benefit organization may be required to pay tax on its taxable income. Well, it's tax on the excess of its business activities or trading activities. We're not going to talk about that in much detail today, just to mention that this is an interpretation note that's been prepared by the South African Revenue Service, and it goes into detail on the whole issue of trading activities for public benefit organizations. So it's available on their website, and there's a couple of examples in this particular note. The second kind of benefit is donor deductibility status, and that is dealt with in Section 18A of the Income Tax Act. Basically what it means is that if I'm a donor and I'm making a donation to a non-profit organization with Section 18A status, that organization will give me a receipt. So the receipt I will use when I submit my tax returns, and then SARS will give me a deduction on my taxable income. So it's a benefit to me, but it's also a benefit to the organization, because some donors, especially corporate donors, prefer to give and to donate to that kind of an organization because of the tax incentive that's linked to that. So let's look at some of the main requirements for a public benefit organization. First requirement is that the organization must carry on a public benefit activity. Now, the Income Tax Act lists about over 60 kinds of public benefit activities, and it's very important that the organization must carry on either one or more of those activities. If it doesn't carry on a public benefit activity, then it won't qualify as a public benefit organization. It might be eligible in terms of the other provisions for tax exempt organization, but not as a public benefit organization. So that's the main requirement. The easiest way is to have a look at the application form. Now, the application form is called EI1 form, and public benefit organizations must use this form to apply for tax exemption. And EI1 is available on the website of the tax exemption unit. Page number 1 asks for the organization's legal status to be identified. So it's either a voluntary association or a non-profit trust, or it's a non-profit company. It's also possible for a foreign charity that has been registered in another country to apply for PBO status in South Africa if it operates in South Africa. The name of the organization, very important. The name must be consistent with the name in the founding document and the certificate of incorporation of the organization, and then also the registered address and the postal address of the organization. Further down, you'll see that the registration number, the tax registration number is asked for where applicable, as well as the website details. Now, very important to keep in mind is that when your application is considered, the tax exemption unit will look at your website and to see if the information provided in the application is consistent with what's on your website. So it's very important to check for consistency, and then further down the banking particulars of the organization. Now, on the second page, the details of two of the board members are asked. Now, that's linked to a requirement in the Income Tax Act that a public benefit organization must have at least 3 unrelated board members for the organization. So it could have more board members, and some of them could be related, but at least 3 of those board members must not be related. And so page 2 asks for the details of the 2 board members, and you'll see on page number 3 the details of the 3rd board member. So those 3 people must not be related, and their details must also be consistent with what's on your certificate of incorporation if it's a company, or the letters of authority if it's a trust. So on page number 3, the bottom part, you have to select. If it's a public benefit organization, it's section 10(1)(c)(n), and if you apply for 18A status, right at the bottom there's also a box to tick. So main requirement is that it must carry on 1 or more public benefit activities, and the kind of activities will determine whether you've got section 18A status or not. And page number 4 up to page number 7 will give you an indication of whether or not your organization actually carries on 1 or more public benefit activities. So there are over 60 public benefit activities. As you go through page number 4 to page number 7, you'll see that some of them are in bold and some are not in bold. So those that are in bold will qualify for section 18A status. Like on page number 4, most of the activities are in bold. As you scroll down further to the other pages, you'll find that some of the activities are not in bold. So those that are not in bold will not qualify for section 18A status. So you can visit the website of the tax exemption unit. The details are reflected here, and thank you for having watched this video.